One joke, one smile, and suddenly I had an alien mate. Sci-Fi Story. The station floated between 3 stars, a place chosen very carefully so no single species could claim it as their own. Its halls were wide, its lights soft, and every surface was designed to avoid sharp angles that might offend someone somewhere. This was humanity's first true cultural exchange station, and everyone aboard it knew that history was watching. Liam Carter stood inside one of the observation galleries, hands clasped behind his back, trying very hard not to look nervous. He was a linguistics officer, not a diplomat. His job was words, meanings, tone, and context. He was supposed to help others avoid mistakes. Today, however, even he could feel how tight the air had become. Across the chamber sat the Keltari delegation. They were tall, slender beings with smooth, pale skin that reflected the light like stone polished by water. Their eyes were dark and calm, almost too calm, and they moved with slow, precise motions. Every breath, every gesture seemed measured. The Keltari were known across the galaxy for their discipline and emotional control. They had not laughed, cried, or openly reacted in public for over 2,000 years. Negotiations had stalled. Human diplomats had presented trade offers, scientific cooperation, and shared security agreements. The Keltari had listened politely and responded with careful, neutral statements that went nowhere. No agreement, no rejection, just endless calm. Liam glanced at the human side of the chamber. Several officers shifted in their seats. A few wiped sweat from their brows. Hours of perfect silence weighed on them like gravity. He checked his tablet again. Linguistically, nothing was wrong. No insults, no misunderstandings, but something was missing. Humans could feel it. The talks had no life. The lead human diplomat paused, searching for words, then began another carefully rehearsed sentence. That was when Liam made his mistake, or what everyone would later call a mistake. Under his breath, barely louder than a whisper, he muttered, "Well, at this rate, we'll all fossilize before lunch." In the silence of the chamber it echoed. Human eyes widened. A few faces froze in horror. Liam felt his stomach drop as he realized what he had done. He straightened instantly, heart pounding, ready to apologize, explain, beg if needed. The Keltari did not react at first. Then Sarasva lifted her head. She had been seated slightly behind the main delegation, an observer rather than a speaker. Her role was xenobiology, not politics. She had watched the humans with quiet interest from the start. Now her gaze locked onto Liam. Something flickered in her eyes. A tiny change so small that most species would have missed it. Her breathing changed. Her posture shifted. And then, impossibly, the corners of her mouth lifted. It was not wide. It was not loud. It was just a smile. The chamber erupted into alarms. Soft blue lights flashed along the walls. Automated systems activated, and a calm station voice announced an unexpected biological event. Human security stood halfway from their seats, unsure whether to protect or retreat. Liam felt dizzy. He stared at Sarasva, unable to move. The Keltari delegation reacted instantly. Several stood in perfect unison. Their calm shattered into sharp, controlled urgency. One of them spoke rapidly in their own language, voice tight with something that sounded dangerously close to panic. The lead Keltari turned toward the human diplomats. "There has been an irreversible occurrence," the alien said. "All proceedings are suspended." The word irreversible rang loudly in Liam's ears. Sarasva was breathing faster now. Her smile faded, replaced by an expression Liam could not read, but her eyes never left him. Medical drones descended from the ceiling, scanning her. A Keltari official stepped forward, blocking her from view. "Human Liam Carter," the lead Keltari said, voice steady but strained. "You are now the central variable in a binding biological response." Liam was escorted from the chamber under heavy security, not because he was considered dangerous, but because no one knew what he was anymore. His mind raced as doors slid shut behind him. One joke, one careless sentence. How could that matter so much? He was placed in a quiet room with smooth walls and a single chair. Minutes passed, then an hour. His thoughts ran in circles, fear mixing with disbelief. Finally, the door opened. Sarasvati entered, accompanied by two Keltari officials and one human medical officer. She moved slowly as if every step required effort. When her eyes met Liam's, her breathing steadied. The others noticed. The human doctor frowned, checking readings on his device. Sarasvati spoke first, her voice calm but no longer distant. Your vocalization altered my neural regulation. Humor was classified as unsafe. My body responded before my mind could stop it. In ancient Keltari biology, she said, a spontaneous smile indicates chosen bond. This has to be some kind of misunderstanding. I don't even know. If it is severed, one said, the biological backlash will be fatal for her. Across the galaxy, alarms far greater than the stations had begun to ring. A human had laughed, an alien had smiled, and the stars had just become a much more complicated place. The room remained quiet long after the last words were spoken. Machines hummed softly, filling the silence that no one dared to break. Liam stood near the center, hands loose at his sides, feeling as if his life had slipped onto a path he could no longer see clearly. Sarasvati was guided to a medical platform, not restrained, but watched closely. Keltari medics worked with careful speed, their movements precise, their expressions controlled. Yet the data streaming across their screens told a story they did not like. Her neural activity was stabilizing only when Liam was within close range. When he stepped back even a little, her readings shifted toward stress. The humans noticed too. This isn't psychosomatic, the human doctor said quietly. It's real. Whatever this bond is, it's already active. They communicated silently through subtle hand motions and eye movements, an old system built for emotional restraint. Finally, the lead official spoke. This human must remain, he said, until we understand the full consequences. He could not explain it, but the idea of leaving Sarasvati alone felt wrong in a deep, physical way. They moved them to a larger containment suite designed for shared observation. It was comfortable but secure, with transparent walls and constant monitoring. The room was neutral, built to avoid cultural pressure on either species. When they were finally alone, guarded only by distant cameras, Liam broke the silence. "I'm sorry," he said again. "I keep saying it, but I really am." She studied him closely, eyes moving across his face as if cataloging details. "Humans express emotion continuously," she said. "Micro changes. Your face is never still." Long ago, fear answered with annihilation. Over the next days, the station shifted into controlled chaos. Scientists, diplomats, and military advisors from multiple species arrived through secure channels. The incident could not be hidden. News spread fast. Humans reacted with disbelief, curiosity, and no small amount of fear. The idea that something as simple as a joke could cause biological bonding terrified policymakers. New rules were drafted within hours. No unscripted human speech near emotionally suppressed species. No humor without clearance. But the rules did not change what had already happened. Tests continued. Whenever Liam entered the room, Sarasvati's stress markers fell. When he spoke casually, her neural inhibitors weakened but did not collapse. Carefully, under supervision, Liam told mild stories. Small observations, nothing sharp, nothing cruel. The results shocked everyone. Sarasvati did not destabilize, she stabilized further. Her emotional range expanded slowly, safely, guided by human presence. The bond did not cause chaos, it caused balance. Other Keltari observers watched through the glass, alarmed and fascinated. "This contradicts everything," one whispered. The human scientists exchanged glances. Humanity had always been told their emotions were a flaw, too loud, too reactive, too unstable. Now the galaxy was learning something different. One evening, after hours of testing, Liam slumped into a chair, exhausted. I don't feel like I'm doing anything special, he said. You are not, Sarasva replied. You are being human. Sarasva did not smile, instead she laughed. It was quiet, short, but unmistakable. The room froze. Alarms almost triggered again, but the data told a different story. Her vitals spiked briefly, then leveled out higher than before. Healthy. The Keltari officials were shaken. She is changing, one said. Yes, another replied. But she is not breaking. Liam was kept away from the debates, but he could feel the tension. Every conversation felt heavier now. Every smile, every word carried weight. One night cycle, Sarasva stood near the observation window, staring at the stars. Liam joined her quietly. Do you regret it? He asked. She considered the question carefully. Regret requires comparison to an alternative future. I cannot simulate one without this bond. Sometimes it just makes us do stupid things. And some were already afraid of what that meant. The debate did not stay inside the station for long. Within days, the issue reached the wider galactic accord. Messages traveled faster than ships, carrying fear, curiosity, and warnings. Humanity had not fired a weapon. Humanity had not made a demand. Yet the galaxy felt shaken. On the station, security increased. Corridors once open now required clearance. Liam noticed it every time he left the shared suite. Guards followed at a respectful distance, but they were always there. Sarasva noticed too. They are afraid, she said one cycle, watching a patrol pass outside the transparent wall. Liam sighed. Yeah. That happens when people don't understand something. The Preservation Authority gained support quickly. Their argument was simple and terrifying. If one human joke could bypass Keltari emotional suppression, then what else could humans do without meaning to? Songs, stories, anger, grief, love. Any of it could trigger biological responses across emotionally altered species. Humanity was unpredictable, and unpredictability scared the galaxy. The proposal was submitted to the Galactic Accord, immediate isolation of humanity until a full emotional threat assessment could be completed. Liam learned about it from a human officer who looked uncomfortable delivering the news. They're not calling it punishment, the officer said. They're calling it quarantine. Maybe longer. They said that would kill you. Liam refused to stay quiet. I need to speak, he told the human command staff. Not privately, publicly. They need to see what this actually is. Representatives appeared as holograms, thousands of them filling the space with color and shape. Species Liam had never seen watched him closely. Sarasva stood beside him, not behind. That alone was a statement. When the signal went live, the noise faded into silence. Liam took a breath. His hands shook, but he did not hide them. I'm not here as a representative of Earth, he began. I'm here as the person who caused this. You think emotions make us dangerous, but emotions are how we survive. She didn't break because of me. She healed, slowly, safely. Not because I forced anything, but because I was honest. Sarasva stepped forward then. I was taught emotions were a weakness, she said, her voice steady. Yet I have never been more stable than I am now. Alive, this is not chaos, she said. This is restoration. If being human is dangerous, then yes, we're dangerous. Because we feel, because we connect, because we don't shut parts of ourselves away just because they scare us. Sarasva stiffened. They are initiating severance, she said quietly. Liam felt a cold wave of fear. We have to stop them. A third-party species, one that had long suppressed emotional variance, broke protocol and spoke publicly. We request human liaison status, their representative said. Immediately. Command channels flooded with objections, data requests, and political pressure. The Preservation Authority found themselves outnumbered. On the station, the medical team halted just outside the suite. Orders changed mid-step. Liam exhaled shakily. Sarasva's hand moved without thinking. She took his. Both of them froze, surprised by the contact. Her reading stabilized further. Across the galaxy, analysts took note. That single act did not look like control. It looked like trust. And for the first time since the stars had gone silent with fear, the idea spread that maybe humanity was not a threat to be contained. Maybe they were something far more dangerous to old ways of thinking. Maybe they were a bridge the galaxy had forgotten it needed. The crisis did not end with a vote or a single decision. It ended slowly, the way real change always did, through many small choices made under watchful eyes. The severance order was officially withdrawn within hours. The Galactic Accord released a carefully worded statement calling the bond between Liam and Sarasva a unique biological and cultural event requiring protection rather than correction. It was not an apology, but it was enough to stop the immediate danger. Security levels on the station eased. Weapons were lowered. Medical teams were reassigned. The tension did not vanish, but it softened, like a fist slowly unclenching. Liam felt the change first when he woke up and realized no guard stood directly outside the suite door. Sarasva noticed it too. "They are still afraid," she said, standing near the window and watching ships drift past. "But fear is no longer their only response. For us, at least. We can barely manage ourselves." Emotional expression still required effort for her, like using muscles long left unused. But with Liam nearby, the strain eased. They learned quickly that proximity mattered less than presence. Even when separated by walls or distance, knowing the other was near stabilized them both. Scientists called it resonance. Liam called it comfort. One session, a Keltari researcher asked Sarasva a careful question. "Do you still consider the bond accidental?" Humans were invited not to lead but to participate. They were told to be themselves, nothing more. It turned out that was enough. Humans told stories, simple ones, about growing up, about failure, about laughing at the wrong moment. Keltari listeners reacted carefully at first, then with curiosity, then with something dangerously close to joy. Not all reactions were positive. Some Keltari experienced emotional overload and withdrew from the programs. Some species refused human contact entirely. A few worlds closed their borders. The galaxy did not change overnight, but it changed. Liam found himself busier than he had ever been, not as an officer but as a reference point. People asked how it felt, how he stayed calm, how he handled the responsibility. The truth was simpler than anyone expected. "I'm scared most of the time," he admitted during one interview. "But being scared doesn't mean you stop caring." "We do that a lot." The title was long and careful, full of conditions and safeguards, but its meaning was clear. Humans were now recognized as emotional liaisons, not diplomats, not leaders, bridges. With that recognition came a choice. Liam was offered reassignment back to Earth, a quiet life, counseling, privacy. No one would blame him for taking it. The offer came with concern, kindness, and an understanding that his life had already changed enough. He asked for time. When he told Sarasva, she did not react immediately. Her stillness worried him. "You are not obligated to remain," she said at last. "Your well-being is not secondary to mine." "Then why?" "That sensation," she said, "is mutual." More alive. Laughter was still rare in some halls, but it no longer triggered alarms. Smiles appeared, tentative and uncertain like fragile stars. Human jokes were still regulated in certain areas. Liam followed the rules carefully now, aware of the weight words could carry. But sometimes in private spaces, humans laughed freely. And sometimes Keltari joined them. One evening, Liam and Sarasva stood together at the observation window, watching a new ship arrive. Its markings belonged to a species that had once refused all emotional contact. "They requested human liaison," Sarasva said. Liam raised his eyebrows. "Guess we're not as scary as we used to be." Far away, historians began recording the event that changed galactic relations. Some tried to name treaties or councils as the turning point. Most eventually agreed on something simpler. It began with a joke, not a speech, not a weapon, not a plan. A joke told at the wrong time by the wrong person in the right moment. A joke that reminded the galaxy that feeling was not failure, and that humanity's greatest strength had never been its ships or its science or its reach for the stars. It had been their ability to smile in the dark and invite others to do the same.